movies aren't as good as they used to be. And today we're going to find out why, how they screwed the pooch so badly, and why Hollywood might be migrating to Europe.
The movies aren't that bad these days. I love the Thunderbolts.
Wrong, and let me tell you why. If you went to the cinema in 2018, chances are there was something for everyone. Fast and Furious for the casual audience, and hidden gems like Game Night for people that prefer something more obscure. Undeniably, things felt a lot more original. But if you go to the cinema now, you see franchise after sequel after franchise. If you're lucky, you might see a hit or miss biopic about your mum's favorite singer or your least favorite politician, but it seems like all the good movies dropped off the face of the earth. Why?
Money talk. Here comes the money.
When the world got hit with the virus, the box office top 10 dropped from over 13 billion in 2019 to 3 the following year, and Hollywood went into a frenzy. Studios started axing projects left and right, delaying filming schedules by years and suppressing unions in any way that kept their bottom line afloat. As the world watched, it was becoming very clear that Hollywood was on fire, and not in a good way. So when the dust settled, producers looked around at the ashes in dismay. Their spirit was broken, and more impactfully, their wallets were almost empty. And the pressure was on, because if Hollywood didn't start making some money soon, the entire American cocaine market would collapse. All of a sudden, it wasn't enough to have a good script, a good cast, and a good director. Now, if a movie wanted to be made, it had to be popular before it was even written. There are 3 types of films that Hollywood decided were worthy. First up, we have the franchise. Producers took a look at Barbie and Mario and saw dollar signs. Franchises come pre-packaged with their own loyal cult fan base, and regardless of if the script is good or just a glorified cash grab, they slap it with a comically large check and call it a day. Second, we have the biopic. If you've been wondering why we've been getting so many biopics over the last few years, this is actually why. While I'm not sure that Oppenheimer really counts, because I doubt that Universal greenlit a movie on the back of a physicist's fan club, you can't seriously expect me to believe that people would watch The Apprentice if it was about the lawyer that fondled Donald's balls. And finally, the adaptation. Now, I liked the Dune movies, but in a world where the Dune books weren't already popular, the movies wouldn't have been made. My problem with adaptations is for every Game of Thrones Season 1, you have a Game of Thrones Season 8. It's also pretty common for these adaptations to twist the original creator's vision into a terrifying capitalistic monster, sometimes destroying the IP in retrospect because the terrible movie got more eyeballs than the fantastic book. Essentially, Hollywood has become a factory, mass producing the things that you think you love before your brain fully developed. So what's the solution? Well, it's actually super stupid simple. Make more original movies.
Even back in the day when I came to Hollywood, right? Scooby-Doo got greenlit because people liked the script. And today people are greenlighting projects because an IP has to be out on a certain date, which means that the screenplays are worse. And movies are suffering for it, and TV is thriving because there's so much good television out there. And it's not because people don't want to go to the box office. It's not because people don't care about that format anymore. It's because the movies aren't as good.
By being hesitant to greenlight anything with an original premise, Hollywood is causing its own downfall. It may seem like the safe option to restrict greenlights to only guaranteed moneymakers, the same stuff that they've been doing over and over again with nearly guaranteed results. But ultimately, it's that safety that is killing them. You don't make the next Star Wars that everyone simply has to see. They line up around the block by playing it safe. Just look at TV. Cultural phenomena like Breaking Bad, Black Mirror, Squid Game, Stranger Things, Rick and Morty, all of these were original concepts that have taken the world by storm, and all because a studio took a chance on an original, well-written script. Apologies, we blew the entire production budget on that poker segment, so now you've just got me talking in a mediocrely decorated room. Anyway, now some people might say that this was all inevitable because of how many advantages streaming services have over movie theaters. And in fairness, they are cheaper, more convenient, and have it impossible to be catalogued. But even then, people still go to the cinema for projects that they're excited for. So it's more likely that there aren't enough projects to get excited about. So I don't think that the fault is with the cinemas themselves, well, reducing the extortionate ticket pricing that's been rising ever since popcorn buckets decided getting popular probably wouldn't hurt, but I think it's more to do with the movies that the industry is putting in the cinemas. My hope is that by 2026, the movies we see in the top 10 will include a couple original scripts, and based on movies like, Sinners, Challengers, The Brutalist, we might be turning that corner already. But I still have it in my bingo card that we might see the fall of Hollywood in our lifetime, but maybe not for the reason that you may think. Riddle me this, Batman, and that is a relevant reference. When was the last time you heard about a huge upcoming movie being shot in America? Hollywood became the global home of cinema because back in the golden age, it was the only place that anyone would shoot. At the time, land in Southern California was inexpensive and labor was very cheap, meaning that film crews could be assembled for pennies on the dollar, pretty easily without breaking the budget. LA was also notorious for mild weather and sunshine all year round, which was particularly important because vintage film cameras weren't really compatible with rain, and there was no powerful studio lighting back then, so natural light was the most common way to properly expose a shot. Not to mention that LA was slap bang in the middle of pretty much any kind of topographical setting that you needed. You had deserts, mountains, beaches, forests, towns, and cities all just a short drive away, making it a literally perfect center point for all production when a film needs to move around the world a little bit. Once Paramount, Warner Bros., Universal, and MGM set up shop, the momentum for studios setting their home base in LA began to spiral, and talent from all over the world flocked to Hollywood. And as we all know, it's stayed that way for pretty much over 100 years. But times are changing. I mean, here's a quick example. Spider-Man Brand New Day has been going viral with its on-site guerrilla marketing approach, farming more aura than any mid-production movie that anyone can remember in recent memory. And notably, while The Wall Crawler is intrinsically based firmly in New York, the city is practically a character in all of his movies. Every one of those photos are from Glasgow.
Scotland forever!
In fact, many other American cities in cinema are a combination of UK sets. Gotham in 2022's The Batman, see the reference was relevant, was cobbled together by locations throughout Liverpool, Glasgow, and London. And many other films like Captain America 1, Fantastic Beasts,
Welcome to New York.
and Indiana Jones 5 all used the UK sets to bring New York to life. This seems completely insane when you consider that all of these New York stand-ins could have just filmed in the real New York. So why didn't they? The answer comes down, as it always seems to do, to money. It's simply become far too expensive to film in America. The cost of labor in Hollywood has ballooned as wage expectations kept pace with America's dominance in the movie industry, which makes sense. I mean, it's only fair to pay the workers responsible for America's highest growing films in the world more than they would get overseas. But as people's wallets tighten and the price of admission continues to climb, cinema numbers fall and movies begin to suffer. This has led to a shortage of jobs, even for experienced people and artists in Hollywood. I talked a while back to a friend that lives in LA who acted in American Horror Story, and he said that one of the people responsible for the makeup and special effects on the set of the Transformers franchise and other franchises just as big is unable to find work in their field because the business is all packing up and moving to Europe. Not to mention the UK and many other European countries are mainlining tax incentives for their own studios, hoping to give, companies like Pinewood the edge on the global stage that they need to compete with their American competitors. For example, the 2024 audio-visual expenditure credit system, I had to do like 6 takes to say that properly, The UK government is essentially saying that studios don't have to pay tax on 80% of their core expenses,
Fuck the Tories!
allowing them to claim tax credit and keep their budget down. Now, when you consider the fact that the UK also doesn't have an actors union or a SAG-AFTRA or all of these unions that the US has that demand certain wage requirements, it becomes pretty easy to see why studios are crossing the sea and, returning to the homeland. Welcome back, boys. Welcome back. Simply put, this combination of financial incentives and the unions being great, but keeping wages high, it's become impossible for American crews to compete with the prices overseas, which is why you're seeing massive studios like Universal and Warner Bros. Opening up locations in the UK, and major motion pictures like Spider-Man shooting in our capital cities. Now, of course, the filming location of the movie doesn't really matter, so long as the USA is still on top when it comes to making the best, most profitable films. That's what's gonna keep Hollywood alive. America has produced the top grossing film every single year since literally the invention of cinema. But that fact that has stood for over a century, save for some kind of miracle, is about to change. There is not a single movie slated for release in 2025 that even has a chance of beating the current market leader, Ne Zha 2. I think that's how you say it. The runner-up, Lilo and Stitch, the live-action adaptation from Disney, hasn't even come close, garnering just over $1 billion, where Ne Zha 2 has made almost $2 billion. This will be the first time in our history that a foreign film will beat out the American offerings, and it will do it by almost double. Perhaps the most worrying thing for Hollywood about all of this is that Ne Zha 2 only made about $23 million from American audiences, which usually accounts for more than 40% of a movie's ticket sales. This movie made 1.8 of its $1.9 billion without the help of a single American moviegoer. If that doesn't tell you that the audience is moving overseas, I don't know what will. So is the movie industry dying? Probably not. The market's very good at course correcting when it's not filling the right gaps anymore, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot more independent, original, interesting films come up to bat. But I would also not be surprised if America's ironclad grip on the movie industry and Hollywood's dominance begins to shrink and spread out across the globe. It's an interesting time to be a movie fan. It's an interesting time to be a writer, a creative, anyone that's even remotely linked to the movie industry. I don't think we've seen a shake-up this big for a long time. It's gotten so bad that even Donald Trump thinks that Hollywood's dying. He's not wrong. It doesn't feel like he's wrong. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.